Just finished my collection video. Time to get this thing edited. It's done.
8 hours later.
Yo, what's up guys, it's me, Jake here, and I know I've been gone for a while. That skit might have helped you guys understand why I've been gone, but basically that whole scenario killed all my motivation, really. It took me so long to edit that, and it just got corrupted, and all my confidence was just gone for a while for YouTube. I was just like really mad, but something has happened recently that lit a fire under my butt, so here I am coming back with more content. Probably going to be uploading maybe once, maybe twice a week. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to be aiming for once a week, but I might upload twice a week every here and there. But yeah, I basically just finished the series like 10 minutes ago, and I need to talk about it with you guys, so let's just get straight into this video. This series that I'm talking about is going to be summertime rendering. If you guys know nothing about summertime rendering, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a synopsis. So in this story, we follow a guy named Shinpei Ajiro. This guy right here. When he was a kid, his parents passed away and he was adopted by a man named Elaine. With that, he got 2 adopted sisters, Ushio, which is this girl, and another one named Mio. And when he went to Tokyo, 2 years after he was living in Tokyo, no response to Ushio, no talking to anyone on the island he used to live on. But he then finds out that Ushio passed away and he's invited to her funeral. So of course he goes back to the island to see his childhood friend and sister's funeral. And when he goes back there, he's sleeping on the ferry, and he has a dream of her, and she says, "I have a gift for you." He wakes up, and he goes onto the island. Mio greets him, but while she greets him, her brakes are broken on her bike, and she flies into the water, and he tries to save her. But after that, they attend her funeral, and little does Shinpei know what this whole story entails after that. He then explores and finds out about shadow sickness, and I'll let you guys find out way more about that as you read it, but that's around about what the first chapter is about and what the story will entail if you guys are trying to get into this series, which I definitely suggest. Now that you guys know a little bit about the story of Summertime Rendering, you guys have to know a little bit about the characters. I think the characters are phenomenal. The main cast of So, Shinpei, Ushio, Mio, Tokiko, Hizuru, and Ryunosuke, and Mr. Nezu. Such an interesting cast that go along very well. I like the use of these characters a lot. I think they're a very great cast when intermingled with each other, and I think they bounce off each other very well, and I think with this kind of series, you kind of need a cast that works well with each other, and I think it was perfect for this series. Yes, I know it might be kind of hard to understand at points because of these characters, because they are from an island with a different dialect, so it's kind of having this dialect way of reading it, and after you kind of get used to it, you kind of know what they're saying, but at the start, it can be kind of difficult with how they say okay and how they say all this stuff, because it's like woke and all this stuff. It's a little bit difficult at the start, but once you get to know these characters and know how they speak, you can kind of just flow with it, you can understand it yourself, and I will say, it's definitely fun to be around this cast, one of the casts I've been loving being around now, and I wish the series was longer, but I think it had a perfect length for it, and I think these characters were just phenomenal for it. Now, what did I think about this whole series overall? I thought the series was great. I think the whole element of how they use time travel was very interesting. I liked the characters and how they worked together. I think that the series didn't really have that many flaws, and the flaws it did have, I didn't really get to see too much of them, and I think that was a really good thing for me, because not many series have no flaws. I think every series has at least one flaw within it, and I think this one has very minimal amounts. I think there is some times where I'm kind of like, I didn't like this kind of element, but that doesn't mean I did not like that whole entire scheme of an element. I think that there's some things that you can take from an element that you don't like that are also pretty interesting as well. I think that this series did that pretty well. I think there's a couple things I did not like, but I think after you get used to them and after you see them a bit, you kind of take stuff from it that you kind of do like. Even though I didn't like it, there's stuff I liked from it. Kind of hard to explain that, but yeah, I think that the things that they did wrong, yes, I do think they did wrong a couple times, but I don't think it was the worst thing in the world. I think this is a series that has very minimal flaws, like I said, so I'm going to say this right now, with a time travel series, that's very difficult, is having minimal flaws. Having minimal flaws with a time travel series is just near impossible because there's so many things that you can have from exploits and all these loopholes that you can have. And seeing how there's not that many in summertime rendering, I think that's a very, very good use of the element of time travel. And I think that not many series can do that, because even series like Steins Gate and ReZero with also time travel and elements, and even Tokyo Revengers, have flaws and loopholes at points. So seeing how there's minimal in here is just very interesting, and I really like how they wrapped it up. It was like a nice sweet cake. It was a great ending, and I really like this whole series as a whole. If you really want a time travel series, I'm definitely recommending some Summertime Rendering. It's nice, it's short, it's sweet. You can read it in probably a couple days. It took me a couple weeks because I didn't have 4, 5, or 6. But if you really are trying to binge this, you can definitely binge this quite quick. My only problem, though, is it's kind of hard to keep track with chapters as well. This isn't like a spoiler. Basically, they don't even have chapter numbers in here. They just stop like the volume ends, because these are like 2-in-1s or 3-in-1s or whatever. They kind of have a spot where like it shows like, okay, the next volume starts. So it's kind of hard to tell what chapter you're on. So on my AniList, I'm basically updating the whole series, just spamming the click button to say add chapter, and finish the whole thing. So that's basically my biggest critique, and it's not even a story critique. So that's a very big milestone for the series. I think the spines and the covers are great, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in this video when I talk about quality of the build. But I will say, this is just one I very highly recommend. Story is phenomenal, characters phenomenal, and even if you like those kind of time travel-y series, this is probably my favorite one so far that I've read recently, other than maybe Tokyo Revengers, because Tokyo Revengers has a soft spot in my heart right now, but I have not read the ending, so don't spoil me, and also, that's probably why it's not better than Tokyo Revengers. But, yeah, I very much like this. Character's great, story great, definitely recommend it. Now, another point I want to talk about in this video is art. I think that the art for the series is quite hit or miss. I think the character designs are very okay, but good at the same time. But I think the backgrounds are phenomenal. I love the use of these backgrounds. I think he does a very good job, or she. I don't know if the manga is a girl or a guy, so I might just say they for the rest of the video. They do a really good job with these backgrounds. I think it's some of my favorite backgrounds I've seen in a while. I think the characters fit the backgrounds. I think the characters look great, and I think whenever the double page spreads are there, they look great. But there's just times where I think that they look okay, and I don't like the look of them all that much. But I'm going to say this right now. Overall, the art is pretty decent. If I were to rate the art, it would probably be an 8 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10, purely because the backgrounds are so good. The character designs I'd probably go a little less, and also whenever there is semi-action in there, it is kind of hard to follow at times, but I'm going to say this right now, it is still not the worst. I've read Tokyo Ghoul, and that action was impossible to follow. At least you can follow the action in Summertime Rendering when it happens, but that's the thing. It's kind of hard, it's kind of difficult, but it's not supposed to be an action series, so there's not really much action. So it's just more of a horror mystery, and if you like those kinds of series, you're probably going to like this. There is some action, like I said, sprinkled in, and there's a lot of drama as well. But I'm going to say this right now. Don't go into this thinking, oh, it's going to be just action from the get-go, instantly killing things. No, it's not. So yeah, very much think the art is good, but I definitely do think the art is good. Don't get me wrong. It's just I have some gripes with it here and there. But overall, I will say it is pretty nice looking and pretty great. I mean, the covers and the spines already look great, but I'm going to be talking about that later in the video with the build quality and all that, so yeah. But overall, art's pretty good. That's all I have to say about that.
As far as build quality goes, these are very, very, very nice. I really like the spines, the covers, and the backs. I like how they're all connecting. I like how on the spine you can see that there was a face that was on the cover on it. Now the pages, they can kind of be see-through if you really try and focus, but overall it's not really going to be easy to see through them and bleed through the pages. I'm going to say this right now, I think they're pretty fine in terms of page quality. Now I know the hardcovers are a little bit different because I know they are kind of wonky in terms of height and they kind of vary, and you kind of have to hunt for the same size hardcovers. It's kind of annoying, but you kind of have to deal with what you got to deal with. Now these are pretty nice sized. I would say they are VizSig size, so they have the same height and width of a VizSig. But the thing is, they are kind of wide, but it makes sense. They are a 2-in-1, and I think there is a 3-in-1 as the 6th volume. And even then, it is 14 volumes, and I think it takes up probably less space than 14 singles. So I would say it is a save in space for having these being omnibuses, and I'm fine with that. I really like the look of them. And they also look and feel very nice when you're in your hands. You can kind of get a grasp grasp on how these spines look all together right here. I did kind of put the spines and the covers a little too close to the camera earlier. I'm sorry about that. But here you get to see a full grasp of how big they are. And they are not actually that bad. I would say they fit nicely in my hand, so they should fit nicely in others as well. And here's what it looks like on a Billy. They are 7 inches for all 6 volumes combined, and a Billy shelf is 30 inches wide, so it takes up a little bit less than a third of a Billy, and I would say that's a pretty nice size for 14 volumes. And yes, my Billy is kind of short for the top shelf. I know, it's just so I can double stack the rest of the shelves. So if you don't have that many shelves, I would take this into consideration, as it doesn't take up that much space. As for such a great series, I would say as a finished series as well, it's just nice to have, and it is not that much shelf space as well. And also, if you guys have Target shelves, it would take up about actually a third, because this is 7 inches, as like I said beforehand, and it is 23 inches for a full Target shelf. So I'm going to say it actually takes up basically a third. So if you have Target shelves, take this into consideration as well, as it takes up only a third of one shelf, and I think that's not that bad. In terms of shelf size for a full finished series, I would take this into consideration and buy it as well.
Now, should you buy this series? In my opinion, I would say yes. With all the build quality and all the stuff about this series, how good it is, how good the art is, even though I do have my critiques with it at times, I'm going to say this right now, that I think it's worth the pricing. These are $20 volumes, and I think the last one's $25. So overall, that's going to be around $125 without tax. Of course, that's in the USD. I didn't do the math for Canadian. I'm sorry for all my Canadian fans out there. I just didn't do the math. I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, it's going to be around, I would say, I think $125, which I think is quite a good deal for a series that, yes, it's 6 volumes, but overall it's 14. So I think that's a pretty decent deal for that. I think it's a pretty good build quality, and I would say if you want hardcovers, I do like the hardcovers. Only problem is I know a couple of volumes are kind of like this. They are kind of inconsistent with build quality with the hardcovers in terms of height, so it's all up to you if you want to try and hunt down the same height for each one. But I will say the paperbacks are really nice, and I do think it is really worth it. I think the price is worth it. I think the story is amazing, and if you're going to be looking for a time travel, mystery, horror, anything like that, this is definitely the one you should probably pick up. It's probably the most easily accessible. It's finished, it's short, it's sweet, it's great. I love it. Great ending, great story. And it's not like Tokyo Revengers, where you're gonna have to wait a while for all these omnibuses to come out, because Udon, great publisher, printed basically all of it at once. They printed a stack of 3 in 1 month, and then a stack of 3 like 2 months later. I think that was a really good move by them, and I think that this is definitely worth the pickup. So if you're in the market for a supernatural, a horror, a mystery, anything like that, I think this is going to be up your alley, and I definitely think that this is something that you should be picking up as time goes on and adding to your collections. I think it looks very pretty on the shelf. I think it looks great. I don't think it takes up enough room on a shelf to be annoyed as well. I think that since it doesn't take up that much, even if you only have, let's just say, 1 Billy or maybe 2 Billies, or a shelf that's like a Billy, it won't take up that much room. So I'm going to say it was probably worth it even if you don't have that many shelves, because I know I have a few shelves, but I know that not many people have this many. So I'm going to say even if you don't have this many shelves, I think it's worth it, because it's not that much shelf room, and it is definitely a great story to be held in just 6 volumes. So yeah, very much adjusted. And that should be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the future content as well, as I have a few things planned. Of course, I have probably some videos I'm going to make that I don't have planned because I'm going to be reading stuff, so I might want to make reviews on them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next time. Peace!